Good evening. On behalf of the St. Augustine Education Society, which runs two ISC schools, I welcome you all. An issue that is currently occupying a significant amount of mind space, not only of educators, but parents and students as well, is the Class 12 Board Exams 2021. With the CBSE board currently mulling over various options, corresponding logistics and safety measures to conduct the board exams, a group of educators have come together this evening to share their ideas and perspectives on the topic. While putting together this program, I received multiple views from principals, parents, and students, each with their own sound rationale, some of which will be shared here. The panelists represent a judicious mix of schools situated in metros, mini metros, a satellite town, and a district from across the country. We hope this gives a flavor of India and Bharat. It is my privilege to introduce our panelists. From Bengaluru, Dr. S. Edwin Christopher, Principal, Bishop Cotton Boys School.
Good evening, everybody.
From Mumbai, Ms. Sunita George, Principal, Bombay Scottish School.
Good evening, everyone.
From NCR, Dr. Ruchi Seth, Principal, Lotus Valley International School, Noida.
Good evening, everyone.
From Kolkata, Ms. Roopkatha Sarkar of La Martiniere for Girls.
Good evening.
And Ms. Aruna Gomes from Loreto House, Kolkata.
Good evening, everyone.
And from Shamnagar, West Bengal, Reverend Rodney Borneo.
Good evening, everyone.
Our moderator for the discussion is Malavika Banerjee, Director of Kolkata Literary Meet.
Hello, good evening.
To set the tone for today's discussion, we will start with an interesting segment titled Educators' Point of View, where we have captured thoughts of a few educators across the country. I welcome Ms. Anjali Mahajan, Principal of St. Kabir Indian International School, Vadodara, to present this.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Janet. It is indeed a privilege to be here on this platform, thanks to the efforts of Miss Janet. For the past 3 days, she's been running around and making sure to bring us all together from all parts of the country. Before I talk about the educator's point of view, I feel that we need to take up what the examination means to the youngsters. How do they perceive it? So what I did was I went through certain blogs of the youngsters to see what they write about examination. And surprisingly, I came across one small little sentence which actually tell you what exactly examinations are for our youngsters. And it says, as soon as the calendar clock strikes March, the students of the entire nation fasten their seat belts for the deadliest roller coaster ride of their lifetimes. Deadliest roller coaster ride of their lifetimes. This is what the examination means to them. I'll leave it over here only for all the educators to moot over. This roller coaster ride in 2019, it was a partial ride. In 2020, neither the roller coaster nor the ride is in sight. Somewhere it is hanging in the air. What are we to do? It is the case of to be or not to be. So many of the educators came together to put across certain point of views. As far as CBSE is concerned, I would say commendable job done as far as 10th standard is concerned. The moderation policy that has come up, it has summed up beautifully. I mean, there is nobody who can play up with the marks, and it's catering to almost 20 lakh students. It's a Herculean task, but I would say that CBSE has done a commendable job. I'm sure for 12th standard also, they'll come up with something of this sort. As far as other boards, they are also following suit. Now, let me get on to what the educators all over India say about these. We received views from a number of educators across the country, and we present a few here to set the tone for today's discussion. We asked them if offline exams had to be conducted, how could it be done? And if it was not held, then what was the alternative? Let's hear the suggestions. Ms. Sushmita Basu, Superior Principal and Head Quality Assurance and Innovations Department, says that she is a supporter of offline exams because she believes that online unproctored exams are not acceptable to provide the much needed reliable mark sheet as a gateway to professional and degree colleges, of course, with all COVID protocols in place. John Bogle, Principal, South City International City, Kolkata. He says that exams are needed in the current scenario where colleges and universities still depend on board results for admissions. Father Bikash Mondal of Don Bosco also feels that exams are important for college entry, so a month's delay is acceptable to conduct offline exams. However, if situation does not permit, he suggests to conduct them online with proper supervision and also use internal marks for the final results. Ms. Juma Biswas, Principal, St. Augustine's Day School, says, represents a school in the suburbs of Kolkata, also feels that exams should be held if the proper protocols can be managed. She, however, stresses that time is of essence and whatever decision is to be taken must be done swiftly and communicated to alleviate stress amongst the students. So very well said, ma'am. Father Devraj Fernandez, Principal of St. Aloysius, Havra, says that the mental stress of students due to ill health and deaths in their family has affected the children. And in this scenario, taking exams will not be all that appropriate. Not all schools can even guarantee a COVID-free center. Dr. Gillian Hart, Principal, Welland Goldsmith School, he says that mental stress of students due to the pandemic not being conducive to exam performance, a formula like that which is being devised for class 10 would be better. Parents are the ones who have to make the tough decision of exams versus their child's lives. Ms. Richa Bhushan, founder Content Guru, she says the physical exams is a risk. A quick declaration of results based on past assessments is required so that students can focus on their college admissions. Detailed guidelines and rubrics from the board are required to be followed. Devi Kar, Director, Modern High School, feels that systematic changes alone are not enough. Mindsets need to change since the exams brings about a sense of completion. Further hindrances may come in from those with commercially vested interests linked to conduct of exams. The IB board has made some interesting changes which could be considered. However, in the interest of time for this year, a fitting formula is required in lieu of exams. Ma'am, you've really raised a very pertinent issue in a very subtle manner. Aditi Mishra, Principal, DPS Sector 45, Gurgaon. She sent us a video saying that she does not support holding offline exams. She suggests considering a combination of criteria to arrive at a formula. For example, ICSE 2019 results, internal assessments, pre-boards and board practicals. However, if it is totally necessary, then a short time-bound online MCQ type exam could be considered, which would limit unfair means. Dr. Richard Gasper has a similar suggestion. He feels traditional offline exams that promotes rote learning may be replaced with online exams with large number of questions in a short span of time to test learning and also avoid unfair means. This, along with a continuous evaluation with emphasis on projects, can be used to decide the results of the child. Ms. Madhu Sen, Director, Tagore International Delhi is also not in favor of conducting exams in the traditional form and does not favor online boards either, which she feels is not reflective of a student's ability. She recommends a formula as shown in her quote, along with online Viva, where practicals did not happen. She further suggests moderation to be done both school-wise and subject-wise based on last 3 years' board performances. Anjana Saha, principal, Mahadevi Birla World Academy, Kolkata, suggests a middle path which includes online tests or Viva combined with internal assessments to determine board results. Krishna Damani, trustee, South Point Education Society, says that children should be given a choice. Those who opt in will need to get vaccinated and take the exams as per the board directions. Those who opt out can be given marks based on a similar formula that is being devised for class 10. The ideas are spread across the spectrum, from conduct of physical exams, of course, with the riders of situation permitting to a combination of online and past assessment evaluation to no exam at all, instead basing the results on a smart formula. The common thread, though, is not to stress out the students any more than they already are, and to focus on the end objective, which is not merely completion of school life, but beginning of new bright college life. I would just add on over here a little apology for our students. I feel that we all have been suggesting something or the other. It was an opportunity. We could have taken some alternative way of examination. Though we've been nurturing our students to think out of box, to be visionary, not to take the beaten path, but somewhere I felt that we probably, maybe whatever case may be, but we've not been able to provide the alternative to the examinations. I wish we can do it in the years to come. Today morning, there was, whenever we talk of these kind of things, the hope always comes from some or the other corner. So today I was just going through the newspapers and there was a beautiful question, just to sum it up in 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just see that here. And professor has given the Indian Institute of Technology, Goa. The exam was conducted and the question, the paper was, this exam paper is a brilliant example of steering the mindset shift. Yeah, that is here, just in a very small print is there. Prepare the question of 60 marks from the lecture materials provided to you in the entire semester. Beautiful way of conducting a test, that you just need to prepare a question and also write any question which you want to and answer it in 40 marks. What a brilliant way to conduct an examination. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hand it over to Malvika now for further proceedings.
Thank you, Ms. Mahajan, and good evening, everybody. The opinions and the viewpoints of teachers and educators and principals from across the country really shows the spectrum of options that are there. Now, the difficult part of a situation like this is when there are so many opinions and so many ideas, it means the question is truly, truly difficult. So the panel discussion today is called Testing Times. And these are truly testing times for principals who know at some level, any decision they take will have critics, and any decision that they arrive at will have some negative points. So it is actually what they often say, democracy is the least flawed system of government. So perhaps this is also a position from which one has to choose what is least flawed, because it's clear that, while some principals have said there should be offline exams, others have completely said that in a period of mental stress, this is not a good idea. So from this point of view, we've got 6 principals from across India to discuss various aspects of this conundrum that's facing everybody as far as the class 12 school leaving exams are concerned. I would like to start with a question to Dr. Christopher from Bishop Cotton School, Bengaluru. Thank you very much for joining us. And I thought I'd start the discussion from the southernmost tip of our panel. Class 12 boards, how important is this exam, generally speaking? Let's start with a very simple question. What is a class 12 school leaving examination to a child? And how important is it in his future education? Your mic is off, sir.
Good evening, all. It's a pleasure to be amongst all of you today. Class 12 examination, irrespective of whichever board you speak about, is one of the paramount important document a student would carry further for his lifetime to encase and show what's his knowledge about and what's his learning curve with regarding to the subjects he has chosen for his study. Every student would definitely choose his stream of study as per his career perspectives that he has planned for. And in the Indian system of education and as well throughout the world, we find examination as one point of evaluation, not to just showcase the marks, but as well to portray what the student's learning ability is as well. And that is just printed and shown. That doesn't make the completeness of showcasing an individual's personality of academics, but still much beyond that, there are many things that a student would portray for and what the universities and other professional institutions would look for. But this is the basic passport. Visa has to be got through different modes and through different portrays of a student, how he presents himself for his further and future education and course of action.
So you said it's a visa for further education. So, keeping college admissions as, the primary reason for these exams and these evaluations, would you think that the college entrance examinations should be tweaked a little this year? And what are your views of an online option for your class 12 batch this year as their school leaving examination?
If you look at the universities and colleges, definitely most of them or all of them do have their own process of selection. But however, even to apply for a visa, you need to have a passport. So the class 12 examination is just a passport that he qualifies with certain percentage for him to apply for college or university examinations. When you take up any professional institutes like IIT or NIT and IISc and things like that, they have their own criteria of selection. But they should also know that there is a student who has done something in precedence before he applies for this particular professional course and entry into this professional courses that he is aspiring for. Online examination or offline examination is the controversy today. Offline examination due to pandemic, because of no vaccination, the vulnerability factor for a child to get affected is too much. And we don't find across India, all schools will be capable enough to follow the COVID protocols completely with 100% foolproof, assuring that a student will definitely not get affected. There is no chance of any statements to be made like that. So in such cases, offline examinations need to be postponed because life is more important than a career. Only when life is there, he can pursue his career. Looking at the career perspective today, if he loses his life, then everything is lost. For the second important aspect of examination needs to be correct. Then we need to go for the online mode of examination. Here we can have a hybrid kind of examination system in the online mode where if you have a paper for 80 marks, take a paper only for 40 marks, go through the MCQs in Microsoft Forms or in whatever mode you would like to, and have all kinds of questions asked. And within the time frame of 40 minutes or 30 minutes, a student needs to answer those questions. which can be in the form of 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 marks, and 4 marks as the board prescribes. Here, I'm not talking about the quantum of questions you're asking. I'm talking about the quality of questions. We have in our school, we did a beautiful concept of even asking a student to mark the places in a geographical map. By giving the map itself in the question paper, we have marked the places right and wrong. We are asking if Bengaluru is marked right in the map, a mark is given. Likewise, it's only the quality of questions that we need to look forward, and the quantum of question is not a botheration. You have to have this within a time duration. Suppose you have 20 questions, the student needs to answer within 15 minutes. So in other words, he will have less than a minute to answer a question, while the remaining 40 marks that you need to have an examination, you can have a Viva OC of examination where one-to-one questioning is done by the concerned subject teacher, not just one. We'll have a panel of 2 or 3 according to the requirements, and ask a student to come live like this. And when he sits in front of the screen, and when you're able to see him, ask him the questions and let him answer it, record those questions and evaluate what is his answers, right, wrong, prospectively good, fair enough, excellent. And based on that, you can definitely give him the scores. So this would become a foolproof system for no malpractices being carried away. And there is a time-proof bound system that you can assure that your examinations mode has been perfectly done. And this is what we could do in this kind of a pandemic, which we have been facing through in the last 15 months. I think that is how we can proceed further to look forward how things can be. And for the next academic year, if you have to look at, since we have an experience of last 1 year and how examinations were not being held, we can plan out right from day one of a continual evaluation and assessment, so that at the end of the day, next March 2022, if certain amount of circumstances doesn't allow us to go with the regular mode of examination, then these continual evaluation and assessments we have done continually throughout the academic year will make a benchmark of issuing him a mark statement. In other words, a visa that he gets into colleges, universities, or to any of the professional courses.
Okay, so this could actually be a roadmap for the future, yeah, because we really don't know what this pandemic holds for us.
In due to uncertainty.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Christopher. I'll now move to Sunita George. Ms. George, Dr. Christopher mentioned time-bound examination papers. You had, when we were discussing this topic before our panel discussion, you had mentioned time is of essence also because of admissions for children in colleges abroad. A lot of children from Mumbai and other cities of India have applied to colleges overseas, and many school leaving exams have happened in other countries. So they would be at a disadvantage and in danger of losing a year. So how do you see this whole situation pan out? How important is it for a decision to be arrived at in the next week or at best 10 days?
Yeah, see, I think a lot of students and parents currently, in fact, just a little while ago, I was talking to a student who had called up because there was some recent tweet which says that the board exams will happen for CBSE. So we are expecting something similar, maybe for ISC. We are not sure yet. We're waiting for circulars from the council. But it is very important that there is a timeline which we follow, whether we conduct board exams or not. Generally, many students have got offer letters from various universities abroad. These universities send them the I-20 forms, which they are required to fill. Then they have to go for visa. They have to get apply for visa. They have to go get that clearance, and then post that. There are so many steps involved. And the first step there is submission of a mark sheet or a pass certificate of grade 12. And many students have got scholarships from very good universities, and they are starting their terms in around July, mid-July, August or September. So, I mean, these students are going to lose out big time if we do not come out with our results on time, irrespective of what is the mode of, whether we're taking offline exams, online exams, or we are making it formula based. I think the essence here is time. A lot of countries today, unlike last year, a lot of countries today are not as impacted as India is, and they are going to start their sessions on campus. So it is important that by August or September, our children have finished all the formalities and they are there in those countries, and they have a quarantine period of 15 days and all of that. They complete all that and they're on campus. So I think it's very important that whatever decision we take, we are on time. I mean, it's, I think, too late right now to think about having exams in August and having 2 cycles. I think, we should have, it's been, the COVID situation has been here for last 1 year. So I feel we cannot allow children to suffer. I mean, there's a lot of anxiety that I see among students. Now, if I talk about most of the entrance exams, these are about admissions abroad and universities abroad. But if you look at children who are applying for or preparing for NEET or, IIT.
Joint entrance, yes.
Joint entrance. Now, if you look at them, they have postponed their exams as well. So if we are going to postpone board exams and board results, when are they going to prepare for that? I mean, it's going to add so much of pressure for our kids. And there's so much uncertainty. This uncertainty is not really given the situation that we are all going through. These are very different times. And children are already going through a lot. They have their family members, they themselves, some of them have suffered from COVID. For example, when we were calling children for practical examination, ISC practical examination, 10% of my students had to give the exams in round 2 because they were affected by COVID. So if that is the state that we are talking about, we have to also think about their emotional well-being at this point of time. I think it's very important that we start placing ourselves in their shoes before we decide whether we have to conduct board exams or not conduct. I think they need to start thinking of moving ahead. If I look at
what are the timelines? What would you say is the latest possible?
July, second week, first week, they should have their report cards, so that they can proceed further. Also, if you're talking about time, I mean, we have to also start thinking about evaluation is ultimately a process of learning, right? And students would have learned same thing in about 12 months. Today, we are extending it to 16 months. With the same syllabus. How much of productive time are we wasting? Ideally, the exams are supposed to happen in May. So the students were preparing for it. So learning has happened. What is the idea of evaluation? We need to start thinking even that. So learning has happened. They were preparing for it. Now, again, to go back to those books and, revisit and relearn everything. I think we need to start thinking from that perspective, So I feel whatever decision we take, if we had to do 2 phases, we could have done it earlier. But right now, there is no time to go August, September and extend it till October. Children will lose out on, admissions in good universities.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. George. You brought up some very important points about the timeline. So I'll just transfer some of those thoughts to Dr. Seth, who's joining us from Lotus Valley International. Your school is a CBSE board school, and the CBSE is the board that pretty much sets the trend for ISC and indeed many other board exams across states. So a lot of ideas are emerging from the brainstorming that's taking place about CBSE. Media reports suggest that 2 clear thoughts are emerging. One is the shortening of exams from 3 hours to 1.5 hours. And the other is the idea that you cut short on the number of papers that students will take, and the important main papers are the ones that they will take. Now, what are your thoughts about the feasibility of these decisions or suggestions? They're not yet decisions. And can you talk us through briefly what is happening at the CBSE vis-a-vis, the class 12 exams?
Yeah, thank you, Malvika. Actually, there's been a raging debate, and I think we're all aware that there are two options that are available, option A and option B. And as you rightly said, the option A is the short 90-minute exam with MCQs and short answers. And these are exams that will be held twice, once from 15th of July to 1st of August, and then again from 8th of August to about 26th of August. And these will be held in the school where the child is studying. So this is the option that almost all the state boards, 32 states, have agreed to, except for 4 states. That's Rajasthan, Telangana, Goa, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now they are looking at option B, which is the usual exam that we have, a 3-hour paper with, in a designated center, and the regular exams that happen in the regular fashion as we've been facing all these years. Now, the thing is that whether you do the 3-hour paper or the 90-minute paper, you are going for at least 4 or 5 minimum papers. Is that better, or is it better to have one entrance exam for the tertiary education? So when I spoke to my students 2 days ago, I had a meeting with the class 12 students. I asked them, we did a poll, and I asked them, do you want to come to school, whether it's our school or a designated center, for these exams? And 99% said no. One, we don't want exams because we've gone through a lot of trauma. We don't want exams because, as Sunita mentioned, this is an extended class 12 year. They are suffering from burnout, they are suffering from family trauma, and they are not in the mind space to even study for the exams. They are looking ahead. They are not looking back. Appearing for CBSE exams for them is like a pullback action. So why are we even looking at exams? Secondly, whether we have the exams in July, August, or even later, as option B suggests, that we have it in September and we announce the results by end of September. I have 2 questions. One is that, isn't going for an exam for 90 minutes or 3 hours equally risky for our children? Isn't it equally risky to go to an examination center where there is crowding within the classroom? These days, what's happening is, it's been said that earlier it was 6 feet distance. Then they said 15 feet distance. Now they say even if you have 5 children in a classroom, I heard this yesterday on the news, that when it is being airborne, even 60 feet is not, able to risk.
We don't know what's happening.
We don't know what's happening.
We don't know all the answers. We don't have the answers.
We have been warned by so many experts, health experts, WHO experts, about the 3rd wave looming large and that affecting children. I think we are looking at a virus that's very smart and it is trying to outsmart us. Can we, by September, have both vaccinations for all the students? More important than the admit card for the exam is the vaccination certificates for all students, for all teachers, for all parents, because parents tend to come to leave their children and wait outside. And this is going to be a super spreader event. So I'm not looking at any option A or option B. Another point that Sunita made, very valid point, was that the timelines should be followed. And already some of our students, if we don't declare the results, if we don't, and universities are flexible. Foreign universities particularly have been very flexible. Many of them have got confirmed admissions subject to any pass certificate of class 12 by the competent authority, and any result based on any formula so decided by the CBSE or any other board. So we are waiting with
I think we've lost
the appeal to them that the results. And if CBSE and ICSE boards don't declare the results, then our children are going to be perhaps losers in the game. Their life, their future hangs in the balance. And if I may say that it's all very well that, we may have alternate systems. CBSE has come up with a wonderful formula for class 10. And I'm sure they can do it for class 12. Of course, we are a little late. Had we decided upon this earlier, foreseeing what this year is going to be like. I think after the first wave, we were kind of comfortable that we managed to ride the virus and be able to, come out stronger. But this second wave has completely taken us by surprise. And I do recall what they said. I think WHO spokesperson said that it may be a more virulent form of the virus, more transmissible, but not as lethal and deadly. But look what's happened. It's been devastating. So we need to keep all this in mind, option A or option B. I think there should be no exams. We're losing time. Every minute counts. June is round the corner. And if we don't give our children their results in hand, a lot of them, 2 lakh out of 12 lakh perhaps, will go to foreign universities. It's only a ballpark figure. I don't know the exact numbers. But we don't want them to lose out. Their life hangs in a balance. The other students also, if they go for 4 exams vis-a-vis 1 entrance exam, we put them at risk. And are we able to vaccinate fast enough? I don't think so. The rate at which we are going, it's going to take much longer till before the end of the year. I don't think we can do it even by the end of the year. I hope I'm completely wrong in this. I've heard doctors say it'll take 600 days. Others say by 2024. There's all sorts of data coming in. So I think what's important is that children's lives need to move on. And one last point I'd like to make is many of these children have gone to their native places during the lockdown and earlier. Many of them have gone even abroad. Do you think they will come back for an in-person, in-school exam now? Once they've got admission elsewhere, they will not want to look back. They will not want to even travel. And whether that travel is permissible or not is another question. How long our country is going to close their border? How many children are going to lose out? Can we give a level playing field to all these children? So these are the questions that come to my mind.
Thank you, Dr. Seth. You've left us with more questions than answers, but that's the nature of the situation we are in. So I would now go to Reverend Rodney, who is from St. Augustine's Day School, which is outside Calcutta, and the story and the aspirations of students, as well as the way they view this Class 12 exam, is quite different. Reverend Rodney, if you could just put on your mic and camera, please. So my question to you is the outlook to exams different outside, these big cities? For many students in schools like yours, is this the point at which they are able to aspire for big institutions in faraway places? So can you talk us through how your experience has been in dealing with students who are in class 12 this year?
Well, Malavika, to start with, what I really want to say is there are many things that we associate with city-based students, and comparing them with their urban counterparts, while there may not be immediate accessibility in a similar way, but as you rightly said, the aspirations are certainly there. I'll just give one small example. Somebody was talking about the visa office and, just the processing of papers and things like that, and how in the cities, I know we also have foreign universities coming up and setting up camps and fairs and things like that. So these situations are not prevalent in the smaller towns, but our students who are from the urban, non-urban situation, from the rural part of the country, they really do aspire to make it big. And for them, this examination is important. It's pivotal. Along with that, the current situation in our state is that our state government has gone ahead and said that they will conduct the exams in person. Now, this brings the two sets of students at a loggerhead, and I feel a kind of an emotional, psychological feeling among students of the central boards that they might be at a distinct disadvantage when it comes to even college admissions, because there'll be a group of students who will have mark sheets in hand, if at all the so-called promised offline physical examinations do take place. And then there'll be students who have had moderated marks or some kind of assessment-based marking handed over to them. But keeping all this aside, what really is my thought process as I think of the situation that is prevailing around us is that, are students really prepared for this kind of an online 30 minutes, 90 minutes assessment, multiple choice type questions? Because look, for the last 14 years of their lives, if I talk about this ISC batch, for the last 14 years, they've been prepared for this exam. They've been prepared to write offline exams. They've been told that this is it. The entire school life comes and culminates at this point. And this is the document that they move out with. Dr. Christopher was talking about the importance of this particular mark sheet. Now, it's kind of like saying that you've taught someone to swim for 12, 14 years, and now you're telling them to fly. So this kind of a different mode of examination seems to be very unfair and sudden to me. And let me add to the fact that we've always, from the moment the pandemic has hit us, we've had a kind of a very condescending attitude towards online things. So we've labeled examinations as online. We've labeled assessments as online, as if to say, oh, this is for the time being, and we have something actual coming later, which is the examination.
Yeah,
and
that is always implied.
And to stress my point, the moment the rates came down earlier this year, everybody was in a rush to have offline exams. Let's have offline exam. And this is the exam. This is the most important thing. So far, everything that you've done was kind of if I may use the word that is used in so many educational circles, mock examination, but this is the actual one. This is where it counts. So we've got students who are prepared from that mindset. Now, I don't want to comment on whether exams should be held in the offline mode or not, but the importance of being fair to our students who for the past 14 years have been moving towards this direction is very, very important. The other point that also I would like to stress is about how we must not forget about the resilience of our young people. We know that we are moving into very uncertain times, and we as a community of adults have utterly failed. One after another, what the speakers have been saying is that, look, we could have done better. We should have understood better. We should have analyzed and reacted earlier. And we are kind of passing on this kind of a failure attitude here to say that now we've given up and it's another way. And now you go ahead and appear for this different way, because, this is not for you. You'll not be able to do it. We need brave hearts to go ahead. We need these young people to be equipped to take challenges which we cannot even dream of and we've utterly failed in. So therefore, we must not water down the entire system in any way that I feel our examination making process, our grading process, our evaluating process should take into consideration. And finally, look, each time exams are over, there's always some award ceremony or the other. And we talk about brave hearts. We talk about people who have overcome all odds and have achieved success, which is remarkably high compared to the situations that they were in while attempting the exams or while preparing for these exams. I feel this year we might have, and let's accept it, a greater number of brave hearts than ever before, because our students are resilient. I feel that given a fair opportunity, doing justice to the system in which they have been trained, whether they are urban or rural, this idea of justice to their preparations, to the entire academic career in school for the last 14 years or so, this meting out justice to them is indeed important, ma'am.
Thank you, Reverend Rodney. That's something which is so far very heartening, that all of you know that eventually you have to do what is most right by the students. And sadly, it looks like what they've been equipped for 14 years is not going to be the way they're going to end their school careers. but perhaps there's a learning in that as well, which will make them stronger. There's an aphorism that what doesn't break you makes you stronger. So let's hope the generation that passes out this year will stand by that credo. So now I'm going to Miss Sarkar from Le Martiniere for Girls Kolkata, my alma mater. And thank you for being there. And when we were having this discussion before we came live on the panel discussion, you mentioned that there is a lot that is anyway requiring change in the school leaving examination system. So the next year, and perhaps even if possible this year, do you think sometimes in a crisis lies the opportunity to bring in a change that people don't necessarily wish to undertake normally? So is this an opportunity in a crisis?
Thank you, Malavika. That is a wonderful question to ask. I think we've had a black swan moment, everything has changed. From the way we look at our world, from the way we live every day, to the school system, to the education system, to life in general. So I think it's only right that we look at the changes now before it is too late. When I was listening to my very esteemed panelists on, what will happen, whether examinations will be held or not. See, the important thing here is, what are we wanting to examine? What are we looking at our students? Are we looking at them because, we want them to have some marks and then, go to some very fine universities and then land up in an employment? What is the actual outcome we are looking at? If we look at our world right now, there are so many people who have lost their jobs, who've had a pay cut, and who do not know how to move on in life. Many of them have lots of marks in their files, in their profiles. So it is not about assessing people or assessing students to get marks. Assessment or examination, the word examination should be actually removed to something I would say evaluation. Evaluate a student, evaluate a learner. We have this system from childhood, report cards coming in at the end of a mid-year or at the end of a year. And the poor child, there are many children who fall ill before the examination because of the fright, the anxiety. So much to learn, so much to cram. I think it's time we look and we change our trajectory for evaluation. It should be, what do we want the learner to learn? It is like a marshmallow effect. Do we want instant gratification and marks, or do we want them to be a whole-rounded person? So I think, we are looking at a different kind of assessment. Let it be a semester system. There are, boards which are not mulling even, or do not have to debate like this today. Their children are far happier, they're ready. While we in some of our boards are having to go through this with our children, because I think our pattern of assessment may not be so right anymore. Maybe we have to change. And so I feel, a semester system with a formative approach of assessment would be better, where there is continual assessment of what the child is learning. See what is the progress of the child. Is the child able to learn? Where are the weaknesses? Where are the strengths? And in the end, help the child to cope. So I think, we have to change our pattern. It cannot be rote learning. It cannot be so much of information being tested at the end of a year or at the end of 12 years or 14 years. No, as if, our life is on hold because of one exam. Why? At the end of the day, there are people who have not sat for exams are doing well in life, aren't they? So what are we testing? We should be testing their EQ, emotional quotient. We should be testing their AQ, their adaptability quotient. Today, children are having to adapt. There are children who have never been to school. They've never seen the face of their peers or their teachers. So they're having to adapt. So, we have to look at a different kind of approach. No more this, a whole year's volumes of pages they will have to learn and we will have to test. I think this has to change. We will look at children who are happy to learn, who are not looking at marks. I have children who are coming to class 11 and they don't want to learn a language. Do you know why? Because they are saying we have to sit for so-and-so joint entrance, we have to sit for so-and-so competitive exam, so I need four subjects, so therefore I will not study a language. So what are we focusing on? Can you imagine a child developing oneself without any communication skills? Language learning is an asset, so I have to talk to these children. I have to tell their parents that, it is not a waste of time. Even an IAS officer, a legal officer, a lawyer later on in life will have to move around in society, and maybe that language will help them to connect and analyze data, analyze life. So you see, our focus has to change. Okay. And so, there are so many ways now, there are online ways of testing. There are so many exciting ways of understanding the child. And that report card that we give to a child, that has to change. It cannot be marks. There are people who are doing so well in life with very less marks. And there are people who are finding it difficult to cope with so many marks on their report cards. A 360-degree approach is required. Let that assessment be a self-assessment, a peer assessment, and a teacher assessment. So we develop a full-blown, a whole-rounded individual who is happy. This happiness quotient is very important. Let children love to learn, not marks.
Okay.
So I think
this is time. A good time for that. It's an idea
change,
which, yes,
yeah,
so
to change the trajectory for assessment.
So actually, this is exactly what I was coming to Ms. Gomes about, that, one has to, at this point, look at the mental aspect and actually introspect rather than examine, in a way, the school system. So this pandemic has, exacted the ultimate toll from many families. Children have lost parents, relatives, loved ones, grandparents. So this batch has anyway seen death at a level which normally children of their age don't. And there is also the mental stress of, a restricted life. To add to that, they are in limbo for weeks and weeks about their exams. So as a principal, Ma'am Gomes is the principal of Loreto House, Kolkata. So as a principal and also as a parent, I'm told, of a potential board student, how do you look at the challenge that has, confronted all of you now?
Actually, Malavika, we are thinking that our children have this mental trauma because of examinations, which is true. But their mental trauma actually began last year when they were promoted to class 12. All of us know in our last academic year, it is a fun-filled year. It is a year filled with cherished memories. This batch have not had an annual day, functional annual day, sports day, the functional prefectorial board. It is, the personal experience of not meeting their friends and teachers. It has increased their stress levels. Yes, they are meeting friends and teachers every day, but it is no match on a virtual platform to actual physical bonding that is there for our children. The uncertainty, not of only ISC, but even right from the pre-board exams, not all schools offered offline. So they were in a predicament for online and offline. Arguably, the online option garnered higher marks, but we have seen that well-prepared students prefer the offline mode. But again, they were faced with the predicament of safety measures, as many of them commute using public transport. The anxiety for our children has further compounded with this present situation of exams. It has demanded many interruptions in their study schedule, not only for the upcoming council exams, but also for the preparation of the competitive exams. Again, interrupted preparations. I know many of our students may have got admission, provisional admission in foreign universities and also in private universities in India. But a major part of our student population are waiting for their marks, their ISC, and that's what we are all debating about, their exams, their certificates to get into most of the colleges in India. To add to their stress and their trauma, as you rightfully mentioned, many of our families have faced COVID. Many of our children have had COVID. They have lost near and dear ones, and sadly, sometimes even a parent, the sole earning member of the family. How do the children now deal with this stress? How do they deal with this mental trauma? I think it is threefold. Number one, the school. I know that they are not on our rolls anymore, but we as a school have to have very good communication with our children. An open door policy where our teachers and the counselor is available 24/7 for the children. Regular meetings. This will promote their self-esteem. All of us have child protection policies in place. All this is important for our children. Secondly, the family plays a very important role today because the children are now more at home. Yes, virtually they are online almost every day with our teachers and with their friends, but they are there with their families. We need to work with the families. I know parents too are going through stress. Parents are also getting various fears and anxieties within them. But we need to keep the lines of communication open with our children. Thirdly, it's the child herself or himself. I know there's mental stress. I know there's lots of fear within the children. But the child has to remember that she has to come out of this. She has to be strong. He has to be strong-minded. And the mantra last year was learn a new skill. Even we told our children, learn cooking, learn this, learn that. I think the mantra this year can be just do what makes you happy. There's too much negativity around us. There's too much of death around us. So if you can draw, draw. If you are a singer, sing. The children have lost out on the field, but they have Call of Duty. Even if watching a movie on Netflix makes them happy, I think the children now need to just do what makes them happy. Life doesn't make sense without interdependence. We all need each other. School, family, children, we need to work together. And that's why we are here for each other at these stressful moments. I think dark days make us stronger. And tough times don't last. It's tough people who last. And if our children can be made to understand, and if they are confident enough to build within themselves their self-esteem, you know, they are just waiting for these exams. What is going to happen? Is it going to be or not to be? If yes, is it offline, online? Is it just going to be a computation of marks? I think once they know this, they will see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they will be, I feel, a little less stressed out.
Thank you, Ms. Gomes. And yes, what you said is very sobering, that children of our children right now are seeing what they actually shouldn't be seeing. Death from so close, a pandemic, you know, a restricted life. So I was just wanting to start a second round of questions, and I thought I could start with Ms. George. Bombay had a very tough time both rounds. So, how important is going forward, for the batch of 2022, the need to create a vaccination protocol for students, examinees at the board level? Is Ms. George there? Is her connection working? Okay, I could just throw that question then while we get back to Ms. George too. Yes, Ms. George, did you hear my question?
No. Hello? Yeah.
Hello, yes. I think we're having a problem there. So if I could just
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I was just saying that, do you think a vaccination protocol is required going forward, because we are all in a position of not knowing what lies ahead in 2022. So is vaccinating students important for the next year's board?
Yeah, definitely. I don't, I see that only if we have this, vaccination drive at a large scale, can we think about getting children on the campus. Till that time, it looks very difficult to hold exams on campus or call students on campus. So I think that is something which is what is the future, and where we can think about things moving, and we seeing children back on our school grounds.
So would you as a school principal think of then tying up with a with
So
a
we
hospital?
have done that, yeah. So we've tied up with Hinduja Hospital, which is next to our school, and in fact, as we are talking, we are in talks with them for our teachers, staff, for vaccination, as well as for the students, particularly the ones who are 18 plus and who are looking at going abroad, and giving them a priority and getting them vaccinated. So as we are talking, in fact, we just had some conversation today as well. We've actually given a part of our school to this hospital as a vaccination center. We've been supporting since the hospital is just right across the school. So during these times when we didn't have students on the campus, we've been trying to offer the premise in whatever way we could. So currently our hall is being used for vaccination. So we are in conversation with them for vaccinating our children, particularly who want to go out, and also our staff.
That's good.
Yeah.
So these are questions I'm looking at, about this year as well as, possibly the next year. So I was just now wanting to move to Dr. Christopher. You had mentioned various interesting ways of holding online exams. Is it possible to have a Viva, I know it's very hard for children. If someone told me in class 12 that you're going to meet an external examiner or even a teacher and answer questions, I would be a bit flummoxed. But is holding oral examinations, as in Viva, not the dentist one, is it a viable option in these times when everyone's trying to be inventive?
Madam, if we need to make the system foolproof, when people talk about online exams, they say it is not foolproof, and a lot of malpractices happen. Students open 7 windows and they Google it out and they find this answer, that answers. Parents are hinting answers from the back, and the whole system is a flaw. That is what people believe in. So in that case, there is no other option left to the board. If we need to make this entire online examination a foolproof system that somebody can believe this is the real assessment that has gone through, and we have taken all the troubles to assess the students' learning capability, and this learning curve is perfectly right as we have assessed, then we need to definitely coordinate these Viva OC or online one-to-one questioning and answer session in order to confirm that a student is really definitely done these examinations without malpractices. What marks he gets in the online mode of exam. Suppose we ask for 40 marks question. There is a scoring of 40 marks by a student. And if he doesn't fare well, in one-to-one questioning, then definitely then we need to have a cross verification and a check has to be done. Where are we going wrong? Suppose he scores even in the online one-to-one questioning mode of examination, if for 40, even if he is able to score 30 or 35, probably yes, our system is working through. That's the kind of a conditional approach one can have in order to authenticate the online examination. That's the purpose behind. Otherwise, online examination can completely be done for 80 marks, as we find in JEE or IIT examination,
Yes.
and it's all acceptable. Throughout the world, we accept those as the premier institutions in the world. They rank 7th or 6th in the world ranking. And we have accepted their mode of examinations. But the only difference is they are doing it in their physical presence on campus, but we are doing this in the child's campus, child's residence. That's the difference. So therefore, we need to authenticate ourselves. That's
So
it.
that is one important way which we could use.
Definitely.
Yes, I was then, next thing I was thinking about, all of you speak about the entrance exams. So Dr. Seth, right now the conversation is between principals of schools. Is it important to also open communication lines with colleges in India and perhaps overseas, and also make them part of the solution? Should all of them look at a new kind of entrance exam? So, balancing, it's not like you're handing over your problem to them, but you're kind of making them part of a possible solution. So is that happening?
Malavika, that's a very important point you made, because when we spoke to the higher ups in CBSE, we did say, please urge the UGC to have an entrance exam so that a formula-based mark sheet, even if the child is not sitting for a CBSE exam, the student feels he can go for an entrance exam and appear for the undergraduate course, the subject that he wants to apply for. And this is something we feel very strongly about. Even in foreign universities, we did ask some of the educational consultants that if the child is being offered admission on the basis of his predicted scores, and in the formula-based exam or in the actual exam, he does not score as well, the chances of withdrawal of that offer may happen. But if we can support it with a document from the head of the institution stating that these were the circumstances on the basis of which this child was not able to perform up to his optimal level. So this kind of dialogue between school and higher level institutions has to carry on if we are to do justice for these children. This is an unprecedented year, and every child has a different story. Every child's reality is different. So we need to make sure that, as I said, to give a level playing field, we need to make sure that we support and scaffold that earnestness and the potential to enable the child to move forward in the manner he would have it if it was a normal year. If he had sat for his exams, if he had worked hard for them. And some of the students who are serious about their exams, they really study and work throughout the year. The other point I'd like to make is, you've talked about the 2022 exams. I think already the children in class 11 are getting serious about their formative assessments. They have understood that this pandemic may carry on. We don't know for how long. Again, what you hear is 5 years, 3 years, depends. It's a fight between vaccinating and resuming normalcy, and on the other hand, not being able to do so. How much is going to be the timeline? I see, and when I speak to my colleagues, they all say that already class 11 is beginning to get serious. Now, this class 11 was never serious. It was a fun year for them. It was a chill year. But they're beginning to understand also that any marks of any assessment, whether it's a portfolio they're making, whether it's a book they're writing, whether it's a video they have created, whether it's an exam they have sat for online
they're
or
ready in the
offline,
exams.
it's all going to be collated. And their assessments are going to be done 360 degrees, as somebody was mentioning. So they're getting serious about it. And NEP does talk about the need for continuous comprehensive evaluation. In fact, it's been spoken earlier also over the years. It's just that this is the time for the change to happen and to filter down to the student level. And I think they're beginning to understand we need to cash on that and make it a permanent feature rather than a one-off thing due to the pandemic. So I'm sorry I digressed a little, but I wanted to
but
speak
that's a
about
very good point. So before I take some audience questions, I just wanted to ask Ms. Sarkar and Reverend Rodney the same question, which is, if you had to do something different back in December, what would that have been vis-a-vis the exams?
A little more clearer, Malavika.
If you had to, looking back, if you had 2020 vision in hindsight, is there anything you would have thought of differently? Would you have put an assessment back then? Would you have planned differently if you knew of the second wave?
To tell you the truth, I think, teachers have been working very hard. They have been, after the first wave, I think, I must mention teachers as we are mentioning students. I think, teachers have come out in a very big way to adapt to this new change or to this new circumstances. And they have already, tweaked their teaching learning in a manner that, that is more learning outcome based process. So they have already started working, and I don't see much of any change that we would have done. Yes, one thing we would have done is that, our online assessments would be, should have been a little more objective, should have been graded in a more serious manner. Instead of just very small ones on Google Forms that we've done, maybe more conceptual based, assessments would have been done, so that we could use these to collate our final card for them. So yes, the online assessments could have been done in a proper manner had we known that, this would be the only way out.
Okay. What about you, Reverend Rodney?
Ma'am, in hindsight...
hindsight is a beautiful thing, I know, but so let's put that disclaimer out there.
We did do a lot. Our teachers, as Rupata ma'am just said, have really gone beyond the call of duty, because once again, they've been trained to teach and facilitate the learning process in a particular way. And suddenly they were exposed and given the responsibility of doing something in an entirely new way. So on one hand, the teachers had to equip themselves in order to present their learning entire matter to the students in a meaningful way. But having said that, ma'am, I really want to ask something very honest and speak about it. Even if we would have done things different, and yes, we have done things differently, many schools, and I'm sure the schools that all the panelists come from have put in cumulative assessments learning from last year. And we know that these online assessments, etc., will be very vital in assessing our class 12 students. But the situation would have come and stood at the same kind of reality that it stands in today, because we don't finally grade our students. There is an examining authority. And the problem here is that our, the system where it's a pyramidal structure. And at the very top, we need a certain clear clarity, directions, where all that we have done must be taken into consideration, and then that adds meaning to it. Or else many schools have done many things in a very creative, fun-filled, involved manner, and yet today it all comes and stops at boards. So with all the grades that we have, with all the marks that we have, with all the cumulative assessments that we have gathered, yet we are all asking, to use the words of Mrs. Gomes, to be or not to be, exams or no exams, because the decision lies not in the hands of the school, but in an high authority. If you allow me to digress just for 1 minute, let me say that one of the learnings that we must carry, and it's high time now, that we need to become, as I was trying to say, more student-centric rather than system-centric. Every year there have been news and cases of students even committing suicide after the exam. So the examination system was always showing alarm signs that something was not right. I read somewhere that last year around 16 to 1700 students committed suicide after exams. So this pressure, stress, this difficulty to deal with all these expectations was always there. And if now we don't wake up, then I think it's going to be too late. We have to begin to think, as ma'am was talking about, the happiness of our students through the entire process. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. Thank you, Reverend Rodney. Now, before I take a couple of audience questions, there we have quite a few actually, I would like Janet to play the opinions of the people. As Reverend Rodney said, we need to be student-centric. So we have the voices of those people who actually are, affected the most in this whole discussion, and it's only right that we conclude before our audience interaction by hearing from them. So we are going to hear from Anna Merish, Trent Gomes, and Ananya Saraf. So over to you, Janet, before I come back with the audience questions.
So Trent Gomes and Ananya Saraf have shared very mature views where they have cited the stress and mental well-being which is hampering the ability to take exams. And they have appealed to move on, to get a swift decision, to move on, and to allow them to look towards the future. And we have Anna Merish from Delhi, who has really summed this up, and she has sent us a video which I would like to play. Mala, if you can just tell me the video is audible.
No, it isn't, and it's on fast forward.
There seems to be an issue with the video.
Yeah, do you want to just check it out, and in the interim, I'll take a couple of questions?
Yes, I'll just check that out.
All right. So I'll just take a couple of questions that have come in our chat. The first one I'd like to address is from Jino Mojumdar, who I think is from the Telegraph. Yes, she is. With the uncertainty regarding board exams for 2 years in a row and an apprehension that this is going to continue, do you think the overall marking pattern in schools should change? So schools which are usually very stingy with marks in internal examinations, do you think they would now have to change that outlook? Because back in the day, it was thought that if you are stingy with your marking at the rehearsals, children will double up and study harder. I'll address this question to Ms. Gomes.
Yes, most definitely, Malavika. I think we will need to look into this because all schools, or rather most schools, we do have a stricter marking scheme in the selections and in the pre-board. So in future, see, this is a learning curve for all of us. Assessment, evaluation for teacher, student, and administration. So I think we will need to relook at our pattern of assessment in the next 4 years, I would say, keeping in mind the 9 to 12 batch.
Okay, fine. I'll stay with you, Ms. Gomes. There's another question which is from Sabita Tiwari. What is the safest mode to take the online examination if you consider things like network issues that might take place? So, these are also challenges for people in places where there's not, reliable network. So how do you look at these issues when we are talking about online exams?
Ma'am, I would say that having a live online exam would be very difficult in the rural areas, in the semi-urban areas, because of network. So we will need to trust the children, a very big factor in the world today. Give them the question paper, let them work on it and submit it at their own time. And as I said, online usually has a higher marking attraction, higher marking scheme where children do get a higher marks, definitely. But I think we will need to trust them on that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So you were talking about the trust quotient. So I'd like to come to Dr. Christopher with our next question, which is from Joseph Chaco. So when you're talking about trust factor, the parents also come into the equation. So should parents be counseled more than students in this prevailing situation where there's uncertainty and the possibility of them having to, in a way, proctor online exams?
First and the foremost, we should have taught students that evaluation is not just marks, but it's a fair assessment of your learning ability and how much you have learned. But unfortunately, in the Indian context point of view, we have not done that so far. So you can't expect, examination means there is a fear psychosis, and examination means for every student I need to score out of out. And every parent is the force behind this out of out. And this goes very, very tandem to students who are aspiring science as their choice of study and who will be appearing for their professional courses and the entrance examinations. For them, scoring 100 out of 100 in mathematics is the order of the day. That has been the culture, and we practice that throughout. Today, suddenly, when we ask, you need to be without a proctor, without a monitor, you need to do well, without taking help, without practicing any malpractices, you should have your ethical, moral values in your evaluation. It's not difficult. So you cannot have the trust factor completely possible. So either if you have an online examination, you should go with online, live. If not, never have it, because it's a beautiful, questionable aspect of the authenticity of your online examination. Point number one. And second thing, now you cannot teach people to be trustful. How is that possible? It has to come right from day one. And even if the physical examination, physical schooling, when that happens, let us try to inculcate the habit of not having a teacher monitoring the examination hall. And we should make students, allow them to write on their own without any malpractices. If you do that right from UKG today, probably 10 years down the line, you will have a couple of batch of students. Even if you throw a book with them, they'll not take it and copy it, because the culture we have established with them is such. Without giving them training, asking them to do something new in today's world, it's very difficult.
Thank you, Dr. Christopher. So Janet, if you have Anna's video ready, we can, actually let Anna have the last word before your vote of thanks.
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Anna Mehrish and I'm a part of Batch of 2021. COVID-19 has taken a huge toll on all of our students. We don't know what the boards are going to happen. So for us to sit every day and try to open our books and study, knowing whether it can get cancelled or not get cancelled, it doesn't feel like we have any motivation to actually sit and study. I know a lot of my batchmates have also lost their parents, so for them to actually get into the right headspace and study, I don't think that's going to be possible right now. We keep on hearing about these rumors, whether it's going to be held in July or it's going to be held in June, 45 days, all that. If they go ahead with the plan of 3 months, a lot of us are going to have to cancel our admissions or defer it to another semester. Students applying abroad do have the opportunity to defer their status, but a lot of colleges also do not accept that, which means that the admission will get cancelled. They'll have to go through an entire admission process all over again and wait for at least another year to apply. Most of the students studying in India rely on entrances. These entrances will have to get shifted further into the year, leading to a delay in all admission processes. If CBSE does go ahead with the decision to hold board exams, there is no guarantee that none of us will be affected by COVID. We saw that the practicals, even with all measures taken, all precautions and social distancing had to be suspended because there was a rise in cases. We are the generation of the future. We are the ones leading our country for a better today and a better tomorrow. Why should we let one examination affect our future so much? Over the past year, we have taken so many internals and so many assessments, and those can be used to mark us. Why can't CBSE come up with an alternative to the board exam? Why must we be in such a situation where every day students are refreshing their feeds, searching up CBSE on the net, seeing what new news has come out? Why can't there just be a different pattern altogether?
So that was the last word from Anna Mehrish.
So I hand over to Janet. Thank you for organizing this and truly being the force behind this initiative. Over to you to wrap things up.
So for those who are on Zoom, some of you had polled and voted. So what we see is that 37% have said that shortened physical exams plus a formula based on earlier assessments would possibly best, with a very close 30% saying that MCQ online questions plus a formula base. So majority are saying that some sort of examination and a formula should be used to give the results. So with that, the compelling cases have been made this evening. And thank you to all our panelists and to Malavika for bringing out the diversity and perspectives and suggestions of this exam conundrum. To all the educators and students who sent in their point of view, thank you for expanding the scope of this discussion. Special thanks to those individuals who helped me tap into the vast educators network to put this program together. The team of St. Augustine Day School, Barrackpore and Shamnagar, thank you for the tech support that delivered flawlessly. This program is recorded and will be available on the school YouTube channels for those who missed it. And thank you to each of you in the audience for making this a success. Good night.